Ever wondered how free speech really is? Can you truly say anything? These questions open the door to a profound exploration of a fundamental democratic principle: freedom of speech. It's a right we often take for granted, a freedom that allows us to express our thoughts, opinions and beliefs without fear of government retaliation or societal sanction. However, the principle of free speech is not as straightforward as it might seem. It's a dynamic concept, one that balances on the edge of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it champions the free exchange of ideas, fostering innovation and promoting societal progress. On the other, it can provide a platform for harmful, offensive or misleading messages. So where do we draw the line between free expression and the potential harm it may cause? Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear might just challenge everything you thought you knew about this fundamental right. The concept of free speech has evolved over centuries. Let's embark on a journey through time to unravel this evolution. Imagine the bustling agora of ancient Athens, the cradle of democracy. Here, free speech, or parrhesia as it was known, was a valued privilege. The Athenians believed that the ability to express one's thoughts openly was the cornerstone of a prosperous society. Fast forward to the 17th century, where philosophers like John Locke and Voltaire began to champion the importance of free speech and its role in challenging authority. Their ideas laid the groundwork for the Enlightenment, a period of intellectual and cultural revolution that brought the concept of free speech to the forefront of societal discourse. As we moved into the 20th century, free speech became a critical part of global legal frameworks. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights, adopted in 1948, enshrines the right to freedom of opinion and expression as a fundamental human right. In the late 20th century, the advent of the Internet revolutionized the landscape of free speech. Suddenly, anyone with an internet connection could broadcast their ideas to the world, sparking a new era of digital discourse. But with this newfound power came new challenges. The rise of social media platforms led to debates about the role of private companies in regulating speech. Issues such as hate speech, disinformation, and online harassment became hot topics, prompting a re-evaluation of the boundaries of free speech in the digital age. Today we find ourselves at a crossroads. As our societies continue to grapple with these complexities, our understanding of free speech is constantly evolving. It's a continuous dialogue, a balancing act between the right to express one's opinions and the responsibility to respect the rights and dignity of others. From ancient Athens to modern-day internet forums, the battle for and against free expression has shaped our world. It's a journey that continues to unfold, a testament to the enduring relevance and controversy of this fundamental right. Not all countries view free speech the same way. This simple yet profound statement sets the stage for our exploration of how different nations interpret and enforce free speech. The tapestry of global perspectives on this issue is as diverse as the cultures that weave it. Consider the Scandinavian countries, for instance, where free speech is held in high regard. These nations have a long tradition of open dialogue, with the belief that even contentious views contribute to a robust and healthy society. They see free speech not only as a right, but as a societal responsibility. Contrast this with countries like China and North Korea, where free speech is heavily regulated. Here, the state maintains a firm grip on information, controlling what can be said and by whom. This control, they argue, maintains social harmony and protects national security. In between these two extremes lie a host of nations, each grappling with the delicate balancing act of freedom and responsibility. For example, in India, the world's largest democracy, free speech is constitutionally guaranteed, but it is also subject to certain restrictions in the name of public order, decency, and morality. So, what influences these varying perspectives? Cultural factors play a significant role. In societies that value community over the individual, free speech might be seen as disruptive or disrespectful. Political factors also come into play. Democracies tend to value free speech as a pillar of their system, while authoritarian regimes often see it as a threat. Lastly, societal factors like the level of education and social development also have a bearing. Countries with high literacy rates and social development indices often have a more liberal view of free speech. In conclusion, the way we perceive free speech is shaped by our cultural, political and societal context. These factors not only determine how free speech is interpreted, but also how it is enforced. Some embrace it fully, while others impose strict limits. But why? The answer, as we've seen, lies in the intricate web of influences that shape our worldviews. And as our world continues to evolve, so too will our understanding and interpretation of free speech. With freedom comes responsibility. It's a phrase we've heard time and again, and it rings especially true when discussing the concept of free speech. Free speech is a powerful tool providing a platform for the exchange of ideas and fostering societal progress. However, like any tool, when misused, it can cause significant harm. Consider hate speech, for example. This form of communication seeks to degrade and dehumanize individuals or groups based on their race, religion, gender, or other characteristics. The damage inflicted by hate speech goes beyond emotional harm. It can incite violence, perpetuate stereotypes, and even erode social cohesion. While we champion the importance of free speech, we must also acknowledge the potential devastation wrought by hate speech. Misinformation is another dark side of free speech. In today's digital age, false information can spread like wildfire, muddying the waters of public discourse and leading to harmful real-world consequences. The recent global pandemic has highlighted the disastrous impact of health-related misinformation, with false claims and conspiracy theories undermining efforts to control the virus's spread. Then there's the issue of online bullying. The anonymity and reach of the internet provide fertile ground for bullying and harassment. These behaviors, though they may fall under the banner of free speech, can have dire effects, leading to mental health issues and, in some tragic instances, even suicide. Now, it's important to note here that these problems don't negate the value of free speech. Rather, they underscore the need for responsible use of this right. The challenge lies in striking a balance between preserving freedom of expression and preventing harm. It's a delicate dance, and the steps are far from easy to master. In essence, free speech is not just about the right to express oneself. It's also about understanding the impact of our words and using this right responsibly. After all, language is a powerful tool, and it's up to us to wield it with care. Hate speech, misinformation, and online bullying pose significant ethical and legal challenges. The dark side of free speech is a reminder that every right comes with a corresponding duty. In the age of social media, tech giants find themselves as arbiters of speech. These platforms that we use every day have a colossal influence over the conversations we have and the information we share. But who is really in control of this digital dialogue? Once upon a time, these platforms were just facilitators, simply providing a space for conversation. But as their user base grew, so did their responsibility. Now, they're not just facilitators, they're moderators. They are the gatekeepers of the global digital discourse. The role of tech companies in moderating online speech is a hot topic. On one hand, these platforms have a duty to protect their users from harmful content. They must ensure that hate speech, misinformation, and online bullying do not run rampant on their platforms. But on the other hand, where do we draw the line between moderation and censorship? When a tech company removes a post or suspends an account, is it protecting its users, or is it stifling free speech? This is a complex ethical conundrum. These private companies hold in their hands the power to shape public discourse, to decide what is acceptable and what is not. This power, traditionally held by governments, now lies with Silicon Valley. The questions don't stop there. What about the algorithms that decide what content we see? Are they neutral, or do they have an inherent bias? And who decides what that bias is? Is there a risk of creating echo chambers where we only hear opinions that align with our own? These are not easy questions to answer. The balance between protecting users and preserving free speech is a delicate one. And as the digital landscape continues to evolve, so too will this balance. So, we return to our original question: is this power too much for private companies to handle? As we navigate these uncharted waters, The need for open dialogue and thoughtful regulation becomes increasingly clear. The future of our digital discourse depends on it. Every voice counts. In the grand orchestra of life, our voices are the instruments that play the symphony of free speech. But like any powerful tool, it must be used responsibly. When we raise our voices, we must do so with an awareness of the impact our words can have. Just as the right to swing our fists ends where another's nose begins, the right to speak our minds should not trample on the dignity and respect of others. In this vast, interconnected world, the ripple effect of our words can be far-reaching. They can inspire, enlighten, and encourage, but they can also hurt, mislead, and divide. The balance between freedom of speech and the protection of individuals and societies from harm is a delicate one. It's a tightrope we walk every day, in every conversation, in every post. So here's the question to ponder. How can we balance the right to speak with the need to protect individuals and societies from harm?